Good morning, everybody. My name is Chip Walton, social media nerd, video guy for Summit Brewing Company. I'm sitting here with the one and only.
I'm Ray Hess, and I started with Summit Brewing in the summer of 1990. Summit Brewing produced its first kegs in the fall in September of 1986. So I came in 4 years after the company started. That makes me the third most senior person here today at the company, and one of only 4 people who go back all the way to our very original single building. Is that a good start?
Yeah, that's a great start. Why today is special, it's the second to last Friday that Ray Hess will ever have to come to Summit Brewery and have Chip Walton bug him. Ray's retiring after 24 years, an epic 24 years at Summit Brewing Company. So I wanted to take this opportunity for Ray to introduce himself and share some stories with the world before we don't have access to them on a daily basis. So, yeah, how'd you get into Summit Brewing Company 24 years ago?
Well, I'm active in politics. In my case, I'm active in the Democratic Party in Minnesota. And another guy that I was active with was a big beer aficionado. And he had discovered Summit Brewing just because he was visiting and wanted to find out what was happening with beer around here. And at that time, they only had maybe 3 or 4 employees in 1990. And so they needed volunteers to work on the rare occasions that they bottled. They didn't start bottling until 1987. And in 1990, the bottling runs would last about 2 hours twice a week. I was an insurance agent back then, and so I would actually come in my suit and tie, change into work clothes to work in the brewery, and work for about 3 hours total, figuring cleanup and everything. Then change back into my clothes, and it worked fine for me because I set appointments, so I could schedule my appointments around the time that the brewery worked. Back then, they would filter on Monday and bottle and rack kegs on Tuesday, filter on Wednesday, bottle and rack kegs on Thursday, and then they were closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, depending on someone would have to check in every day, but basically it was a 4-day-a-week operation. And then I was working part-time at another job, and I was also an insurance agent. But I was wearing thin on that. I'd heard the word no enough times, so I was ready for a change.
And you don't hear that here.
No. Right after you say that, I say the word no. But it's different. I wanted something a little more structured, and I wanted something where I had more of a feel for community. And our place did have that and does have that. Yeah, the smaller operation on University Avenue that we were at from 1986 until 1998, that was a little more intimate. That worked a little better that way. On the flip side, back then, I think when we left there, they were still less than 20 employees. Now I think we're a little over 60 employees. And when we moved here, that did allow me to have more people that I tend to like being around people. So I met more people, got to know more people I wouldn't have otherwise. But it is not quite as intimate because it simply has to be a little more professional. With each step that you take, each job has to be a little less hyphenated and a little more specifically trained for that kind of work. I did like the operation that we had there, though we expanded, and when we came here in 1998, I don't know that people realize this, but because of prohibition in the 30s, in the 20s, I'm sorry, it ended in the 30s, this was the only new brewery built in the whole state of Minnesota in the whole 20th century. The building we had been in was converted from something else, and then after we left, it became a deli, and I don't know what it is now.
It's empty.
Is it empty now?
Shamefully, yes.
And the idea of building new breweries from the ground up had not happened since the beginning of the 19th century, or the beginning of the 20th century, the end of the 1900s. And at that time, I believe St. Paul had 50 breweries 100 years ago. Prohibition eliminated all of them. And the only ones that came back after Prohibition were Hams, Schmidt, and Jorg. And Jorg had disappeared by the 50s when I was still a boy. I was born in 1947, so I guess if they had served beer to 10-year-olds, I could have maybe had Jorg, but they didn't. And now all three of those are gone too. But there are more breweries than there have been since before Prohibition. Now, all of them very small.
Right.
We're the largest in the Twin Cities, and either largest or second largest in the state of Minnesota now. I think maybe 30th in the country.
What's been enjoyable over the years? Obviously, something kept you here for nearly 3 decades.
Well, interestingly, it wasn't the fact that I could drink free beer. I hardly drink. I do drink, but not much, and that's probably why they put me in charge of the inventory. They figured I wouldn't lie very much and steal much. One of the big things was quality. I like a quality operation. I like cleanliness. I like a commitment to the customer, that the product that goes out there is absolutely perfect. And there have been a number of times where we've had any kind of a breakdown of the smallest type, and that beer gets destroyed. Bottle after bottle are opened and dumped. And that, even though it's irritating at the time that we have to do that, I believe in that. I believe in the fact that we should be doing everything possible. That's a very impressive attitude. And anytime anything goes wrong, the beer gets destroyed rather than go out in the market. It can't be good enough. It has to be what we expect it to be.
And as far as quality is concerned, Mark has a great quote that I wrote down during a conversation once. He's like, the public should not pay for your learning curve. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take it on the chin, lose a little product to maintain consistency and something you're proud to put out.
To Mark Stutrud, we're talking about Mark Stutrud, who is the founder and president of the company, CEO. To his credit, quality is a top-down issue. If people see that the president doesn't care, they will slowly let things slide. And Mark has always been tough on quality. And ultimately, it's always been his decision. If there's any confusion, any doubt, any debate, it goes to Mark, and he makes the last call. And his calls are quality-based calls. Generally, it doesn't even have to rise to that level. We know right away if there's a problem. But when we're going through things in the loading dock, that's where I work, is at the loading dock. Forklifting, doing government reports, working out room in the cooler, and doing inventories. And if we find any case that has any issue, we pull it automatically. And we know that no one's going to come back and say, why did you throw away this perfectly good beer? If we say we don't think it's good enough, that's all they need to know. And that's great.
I brought some pictures, actually. I wanted to maybe do a little like memory lane. We've talked about the brewery. We've talked about kind of the old crew. I had some funny ones though. I wanted to see like kind of like in a picture like this, what's going on there? There's 2 Rays, right? What's going on?
What happened?
There's almost 3 Rays.
Truly. One of our favorite people that we've ever had work here is Seamus Kuklak. He's an Irish descent. He's from North Dakota. Another North Dakota.
No doubt.
Mark Stutrud's from North Dakota. And he and I were good friends, and he was an even better friend to me than I ever could be to him. And he started growing a mustache one year. This would have been back about 1996 or so at the old location. And he just kept growing. We didn't know why or anything, but he would grow a mustache occasionally. It was no big thing. And then what he was doing is he took our uniform, which back then was a khaki uniform, and our names would be just like this shirt has OK Ray on it. We can talk about that nickname later if we think of it. But he got one of those khaki shirts and typed or stitched in "Not OK Ray" on it. And on Halloween Day, he grayed up his mustache a little bit so that it would look like mine, and cut it off so that he could go around as a clone of me. And
so he was OK Ray or not OK Ray for Halloween?
That day, yeah. and he was willing. That was the kind of guy he was, that he could plan that outfit out, 7 months in advance to grow the mustache. And he worked here at this location too. But then he came from a restaurant family, and he went on to buy the Uptowner Cafe, which is right by the Lexington on Grand Avenue. But he died of a heart attack a number of years ago, and we still miss him a lot. So
what's happening here?
I forgot who took that picture. It might have been. I'm not sure. But anyhow, it's just Nana and I were eating lunch, and they managed to take a picture at just the most stupid-looking time ever.
Well, I don't know. I think it goes to. I mean, you've got family here too, right? I mean, you discuss news, politics. I don't know. We're all together for many, many hours in our life.
Yeah.
Almost more than we're home.
Oh, sure. Nana is one of the drivers on the bottling line, and he comes from Ghana.
What's up here? What's going on there?
I think that was both those pictures were at the same place. We have sometimes some summer picnics and stuff like that, and they had somebody doing face painting for the kids. Well, who's to say how old the kid has to be?
Right.
So I had a unicorn painted on my face. Hang on to these pictures. I'd like copies of them. They're cool.
Yeah, we can email them or print them out nicer than this.
Yeah, and that other one I was doing the kickboxing. I'm not a kickboxing. We played kickball.
I want to see Ray kickbox for the record, actually.
I'm getting a new knee in 2 weeks. 1 week after I leave here. I was having enough trouble walking, let alone kickboxing. I'll get the kickball playing. That was fun though. It showed real quick that my athletic prowess, which was never great, had gone down a long ways. Nobody minded too much. So
what's going on here with the tickets wrapped around you and Charles looking at you like he thinks you're a little crazy?
We had a Vegas night for a Christmas party one year.
Okay.
And I was always good at figuring it. First of all, I'm good at numbers. The other thing is I'm good at figuring out the odds on things and what things pay off the easiest and the best. That's why it's illegal for me to go to any casino in the United States. I always have to go to Monte Carlo to pick up my money. No, I'm not much of a gambler, so it doesn't come in to help me. But at that Vegas night, I figured out one game was paying off 20 times as many tickets. It wasn't money, it was tickets. And I figured that out, so I played it until I had just hundreds and hundreds of tickets. And then the tickets were used for a drawing. Well, I had so many, I was sure to win. But I'm older by then. I was going to be gone before they did the drawing. And we had Kristen Kranz, Kristen Gooden, and she got married to Kranz. She was going to be leaving. She lives up in Virginia with her husband and is she used to be on the loading dock. She was a forklift driver, best we ever had. So I gave her all the tickets because she'd be gone in a few weeks anyway.
She win?
She won a ton of stuff. Yeah. So it worked out really well. But yeah, it's kind of fun when you can figure out the system. I went through school that way too, reading the teacher more than the books. If I knew how the teacher operated, I got better. Let's see.
One of many food gatherings in the Rathskeller Beer Hall, right?
Yeah, that one, if I had that sweater on, it probably was one where we were also working. I don't know.
But we have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's me as a real drinker. Yeah. What happens is when people here will leave, one of the traditions is that I will come out and have half a beer with them. And that's a kind of a big deal. Sometimes they've even done it on the intercom. Ray's having a beer.
Half beer Ray.
And they have everybody come out and watch me drink. So they're going to take a picture. So I took a picture where I was kind of looking like I'd been on my 10th beer by then.
And the half beer is only like 5 ounces because that's not even a full pint glass.
That's the old brewery. Some of the old people there. They have one that's a big crowd. We have trouble going through all the names. We've had a lot of people who worked here, and a lot of them were really good.
Yeah.
But people go on to different careers and stuff, and so it's just to be expected. So any snapshot, I've worked with every one of them since 1990, and so there are only 2 people in the company, Mark and Jeff, that can remember a time that I wasn't here. But there are a number of people like Jerry Kostelski who came from Hams. And she may be the last person still working in the beer industry that worked at Hams Brewery.
Really?
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else that I've heard of that goes all the way back to Hams. Hams became Olympia, then it became Stroh's, and then it closed. And she goes all the way back to Hams. And so when she gets around to retiring, she'll have me beat, certainly. The way she's going, that'll be at age 100.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to leave, which
her
is
knees
just
are
fine.
Yeah,
her knees are fine.
So
she can do all the kickboxing she wants, man.
Yeah.
Big picture. What's it been like to be a part of, what was called the microbrewery movement at one point, and then morphed kind of into craft beer? Like, you've seen a lot.
One of the first brochures that the brewery ever did, and I think it's maybe in the gift shop or someplace, I've seen it, but I don't have one of those, has Mark talking in the brochure about the fact that he never wants to be more than 20,000 barrels a year. He wants to be a small, quality-oriented brewery. But what kind of happens in America is you grow or you die. You can't stay the same, unfortunately. And so what he had in mind was probably a good European model, and maybe not even there anymore. But because of that, he ended up having to do a lot more of educating himself. He's one of the few CEOs you'll ever meet that actually ran a bottling line, actually racked kegs, actually brewed the beer, actually went out and sold the beer, actually made the payroll by writing the checks himself, covered all the dimensions of the company. Not many CEOs today have that kind of experience. He doesn't do most of that now, but he has done it, so he has a feel for it. We got kind of too big for any one person to be doing that all the time.
Yep.
But because of that, he was able to continue to educate himself in the business, and that allowed him to realize that he had to grow. And those decisions continued to the point where today, being one of the largest breweries if not the largest in Minnesota, and one of the 30th maybe in the country.
25?
Are we?
25 or 28, I can't remember.
Wow. So even with that, we are producing more kinds of beers than virtually anybody. Of course, Damien McCann gets some credit, and all the brewers do for that too. All the books you've ever read in your life came from 26 letters of the alphabet. All the music you've ever listened to came from 8 notes. There are hundreds of kinds of malt, hundreds of kinds of hops, hundreds of yeasts, and water in every variety.
Right. Yep.
You could not make all the possible kinds of beer. There are as many kinds of beer possible to be made as there are snowflakes. It's infinite, and that's one of the fun things about the industry, is people can create. There are IPAs, and then from there are different kinds of IPAs, and then every IPA is different. And that's part of the fun of this industry. And even I can enjoy that, even though I don't drink a lot. I enjoy it.
Do you taste at least like a little sample of each, like Unchained or Union, just so you know, like you said, where in the 4 million billion combinations does this one fall?
Yep, it's fun to try something new, no matter what. And all those Unchained, one of the advantages I have, if it's not one that hits my taste, I don't have to worry. The Unchained are only made once and never made again. if I like it, it's probably a good thing I don't drink much, because it's not going to get made again.
What's the nickname OK Ray? You wanted to come back to that.
Way back at the very original building, I started in 1990, when we'd start the bottling line. And today we have a big machine that puts hundreds and hundreds of bottles onto a line, and they're moving at a conveyor belt system. Back then we had a little tiny conveyor belt, and we actually had to put the bottles on 4 at a time. And you grab them in a way so that you never touch the lip.
Oh my gosh.
Put them on the line, and then they were first pre-rinsed, and then they were filled. It was an old bottling system that came from Heimertingen, Germany, and I think that's where the bottling system came from. But anyhow, when all of the people were ready to start, they would all yell up to me, because I was putting bottles on the line. They'd yell, "Okay, Ray."
Okay, Ray.
And then what would happen is one guy, Jim Dorr, he used to be there. He said, "Hey, I want to be able to yell, 'Okay, Ray.'" So he used to start yelling, "Okay, Ray." And for one of my birthdays, they actually created a T-shirt that had "OK Ray" on it, and everyone in the company got an "OK Ray" T-shirt. So that was kind of fun to do that. And I always buy old Cadillacs, and I had an old black Cadillac back then, and I'd be the first one to work at the old brewery. And one birthday, Mark sent me to pick something up at Viking Safety. And when I came back, where I always parked my car, there was a sign. It looked like a street sign. It was made out of metal. It said, "Okay, Ray, parking only." And then under it said, "If you aren't driving a black Cadillac, don't even think about parking here." And I still have that at my garage at my home.
And you have a lac right now, though, right?
Mine's a white Caddy.
White lac.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you want to say to the people that work at Summit?
Well, I've worked at a lot of places in my life, and I've worked a lot of different jobs. I studied for 11 years to be a priest. I was 1 year shy of that before I decided. It turns out they had a no-sex clause. They should have told me about that earlier. No, it was a good experience there, but I've worked at a lot of different places, 3M, Whirlpool, Bell Telephone. A lot of good workers everywhere, a lot of good people. But I would say that Summit's employees are the hardest working that I've seen. We've been able to run a leaner operation because our people are more productive than virtually any place I've seen in my 67 years. And the attitude is generally quite good. Loading docks are notorious for having mean people on them. And truck driver after truck driver comments on a couple things. One is how nice we are to deal with, which just means we're professional. That isn't. We don't.
No, that shouldn't be the exception, right?
Yeah, we are nice, but half the time when they say it, we're so overwhelmed we didn't realize we're nice. We're just by comparison, apparently we were. But we never try to make a truck driver have to wait just because you don't like them or any of that kind of stuff. We're straight up and work hard and professional. And the other thing is how clean our operation is. There are a lot of places that you walk through the floors of the factories and your shoes will stick to the floor. That does not happen here. This place is kept clean every day. And so the employees have a right to be proud of that. And the fact that we produce as good of a product, if not the best product in anywhere in the world. We compete. We win worldwide competitions. We compete, and when we don't win, we're contenders. And we have a right to be proud of that. And that happens at every level. That happens at the brewers, but that happens with the bottlers, the people who put together the boxes, the people who sell the beer, the impression they leave when they go to different liquor stores or restaurants, and the people who, the most important people are at the loading dock. That's me, and John and Justin and Tim and Eric. All of those people, we're the only people who make money for the company. Everything that gets done, no money gets made until we put it on the truck. So we're the only people who make money in the whole company. And the fact that that people that are in charge can expect everyone to do their job without having to stand over them with a whip and a bullhorn is a compliment to all of the workers. That we do it right regardless of who's looking.
Oh no, I was gonna ask what your favorite beer is.
Pale ale.
As small of an amount you'll drink. That's the jam.
Straight out pale ale. My favorite beer of the year. Every year at State Fair, I go to O'Gara's and get their blue cheeseburger and a pale ale.
A big one.
And
a full one.
Yeah. I don't always make it all the way to the bottom of it, but most of the way. It's that on a hot day with a nice burger, that beer is delicious. That's one of my great State Fair traditions now. And I suppose O'Gara's will be happy to hear that. But,
nice plug for OG.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Unchained that's come come across the line?
There was one that was kind of like a Kolsch. It was a Kolsch.
The first one?
I like that. And we just have this new one that's about to be bottled, but it's been racked. That Herculean wood. That is interesting. These beers that are Unchained, the brewers just go crazy with ideas.
Yeah, what else? Anything else you want to say?
I'm looking forward to you and the rest of you to take this place to the next level. I expect to come back here on Friday and Saturday night tap nights to see you guys exhausted and sweating. And I hope that Summit does really, really well. And it's been very successful. It has the opportunity to continue to be so. And it's been Mark Studrud gets the credit or the blame. He's the guy who makes the decisions. So far, he's gotten to get the credit, and so hopefully that'll continue that way. Jeff, the only other person that's got me beat in longevity. If you don't sell beer, you can't keep making it.
Right.
And so he's had that task since day one, literally.
Yeah.
Since before day one, and has achieved it. We've had essentially 10% growth or so per year over a period of 28 years.
Nearly 30 years.
Yeah. There's been some years a little better, some years a little worse, but if you really looked at the numbers the way I look at them, which goes to depletions rather than removals, it's a technicality, but we have never had a down year. There's one year that on removals, I think we were down like 0.5%. But if you looked into the depletions, we actually had an up year that year too. That's what actually went out to retailers. We actually had a good year that year also. So that's a quite, and we've never had a layoff. I'll give Mark one more shout out on that. When we were putting in a new bottling line and it looked like we would be able to reduce the number of employees, he saw me and he said, Ray, we're not going to need as many employees as we have right now, and I'm determined not to lay anyone off. And I said, well, we could use another person at the loading dock, which he sent one back there. And that kind of attitude, not to lay anyone off, rather than to say, oh, good, we can cut down on labor costs.
Yeah.
That was remarkable. And the commitment to the quality for the customer, like you pointed out, that's great. So we have a lot to be proud of here.
I agree.
And hopefully that'll continue. Except no matter what happens, I'm going to be saying, back in my day, we did it better.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of the old people things you get to do is brave.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up. It's a long conversation, but I thought it was worth archiving. There's so many more stories you could tell. We could actually, I'm sure, do this for hours and hours. And I appreciate it. And, you know, like Ray said, there's, you know, I think owners and brewers get a little bit more of that rock star treatment from time to time, but I'm raising this one to the many, many, many thousands of people that you never see or hear from that are the true backbone of craft beer and the growth and the solidity of the quality. It's a lot of people that make these beers.
You know, with that closing, I do want to point out, these people are intelligent, hardworking people. I did postgraduate work. You know, John Schroeder on the line, he used to be an attorney. A lot of people are college educated. They're on this line. And there's an occasion where people think that people who work in a factory are work there because they just aren't smart enough to do it.
They're the least common denominator or something.
Yeah.
Factory work.
A lot of us moved from jobs that were fancier or more prestigious because we wanted to do this work. We enjoyed it, and enjoy it now. And so yes, there should be a shout out. You're right, because every one of these people do their job well.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thanks.
Well, Ray, it's been real. I've only been here for 2 of the 24 years.
I don't even know all those groups.
I've only been here for a couple years, but Elsa, my wife, who works here, I think is in love with you. So she is her favorite. She's always just like, Ray, you stop by every morning by the front desk and see her and show her the pictures of your grandkids and tell her about your visits with your mom. I mean, like, I don't know, you don't get that. You're kind of like the grandfather we don't get to live near, or at least the fairly experienced uncle. The over-experienced uncle.
Well, you're her favorite, but I'll settle for second.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. She's very dynamite.
Yeah.
Got a lot of great people here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks
All right.
a lot. I'll
Cheers.
go back to working again. Okay, take care.
Ah!
Okay.